Hi, it's Jen from JKC Mobile Notary, and welcome to today's YouTube video all about the books I think you should read in the first quarter of this year. So, if you're interested, I would love for you to stick around and hear some of my picks and what I think is good about them for you. So, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. Okay, are you a reader? Are you a book reader? Are you a book listener? This week I'm sharing 3 books I think would be great for you to read during the first quarter of the year. A little history on my book reading, right? I was never a reader. In fact, I have memories of vacations my parents took. My sister, and the only thing to do was to read, and the 3 of them were in heaven, and I was bored to tears. It didn't become a thing for me until I took a college class in my early 40s, an English class, and I fell in love with this book and this author. It was The Library, and I forgot the author's name. I didn't make a note about it, but it turned a corner for me. And so I have become an avid reader. Over the last 4 years, I have probably read hundreds of books. This last year alone, I think I got 32 in between reading and Audible, and I count Audible as reading, kind of. I'm going to get into that a little bit and my issues with that. But it's just been a really amazing journey, and I am a diverse reader, right? I read about all sorts of things. I'm not pigeonholed into fiction or nonfiction. I want to learn. I just want to learn. And so there's entertaining books, and there's self-development books, and there's books about money, and books about religion, and books about historical figures, and biographies, autobiographies. I do all of that stuff. So, but I'm going to tell you that, and this is going to come into play when I suggest my 3rd book. What I've learned this year is that I couldn't tell you at all about the books I read. I don't even remember some of them. I wasn't keeping a good list, but I'm not retaining information the way I'd like to. And I have listened to, and I have read some amazing books. So I was on a journey towards the end of this last year to figure out how to retain more information better. And in doing that, I found this other author at the end of our list that I'm super excited about. I haven't read that book yet, even though I'm suggesting it for you, but we'll get to that in a minute. And so my new plans for the new year is Audible. That's the format I use for listening to my books. I will only listen to fiction or books I don't feel like I'm going to need to take notes from. Does that make sense? I can take notes, right? If I'm listening to a book and it's really good, and I did it this year, once I decided I need to start taking notes, when I pulled over or whatever, I would get into my notes app and just put some notes in from the book I was reading, but it's not super effective way for me to remember things. This is not what this video is about, on how to retain what you read. I might link some of those into the description below, because it's pretty interesting stuff if you think about what you remember from books that you've read. So let's get into the first book. And my first suggestion for you, and for anybody in life and business, coming right out of high school, right out of college, I think this book should be required reading. It is The Art of Exceptional Living by Jim Rhon. Here's the tagline to this book, okay? Your guide to gaining wealth, enjoying happiness, and achieving unstoppable daily progress. I listened to this book on Audible, and I will be rereading this book physically this year, because there was so much that I couldn't possibly have taken enough notes while driving to retain the information. But a little overview of this. Jim Rhon gave seminars, 30 years worth of them, in the 80s and 90s, probably earlier, and I don't know if we were in the 2000s, but the Audible version of this is experts, whatever, recordings from his seminars. And so they've taken all of that information and put it into a book that I'm going to be reading this year, rereading. I've done Audible, rereading. But I have to tell you something. This book has so much great information. It is dated. The things he talks about we're talking about the 90s, gas prices, economy issues, stuff like that. It's very dated, and you'll get that. But the content and the meat of what he's trying to tell us, and the things that we should be learning, is I think, invaluable, and I think it's worth everybody's time to read. I'm buying this book to also hand over to my son because I think every teenager should read this book. So that's The Art of Exceptional Living by Jim Rhon. The link to that on Amazon will be down below. So I really encourage you to check that out. Book number 2 is The Year of Yes by Shondra Rhimes. I did this on Audible too, and I will tell you that I did have to take some notes from this, but this is a book that I think is geared more towards women. However, I don't think that should stop anybody from reading a book. I will tell you that this book should be required reading for introverts. This is written by an introvert. Yes, Shondra Rhimes, the creator of Thursday Nights, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Bridgerton. So this very famous writer who struggled with being an introvert and saying no to a lot of amazing opportunities, gave herself a challenge to say yes to things that she was afraid of for a solid year. And from that year, she's continued. But it's a great, great outline on how to step outside of your comfort zone and when you kind of see that life is passing by. So I also did this on, I did it on Audible. It's a great read. It really is. And I would encourage you to read it. The third book is one I have not read yet. But the reason I'm suggesting it to you is because I'm going to read it this quarter. And it is Building a Second Brain, a proven way to organize your digital life and unlock your creative potential by Tiago Forte. I don't know if that's how you say his name. I'm a singer. I see Forte written that way. Forte. Fortissimo. Right? Anyways, I haven't read it, but let me tell you how I found him. I told you earlier in this video that I was having a hard time retaining information from the books I was reading and the books I was listening to. And in my search to figure out how to do that, I stumbled upon him. And so this whole thing with his second brain is a way to capture thought, capture ideas, capture get it out of your head and into whatever platform or way he wants us to store it. It's pretty amazing how many people talk about it and use that format to help their digital and just mental content to be saved so they have room for more thought, right? That's a really basic explanation of this book, but I'm going to link his YouTube video, his YouTube channel down below as well, so you can check him out, along with all of the people I found, not all of them, I can think the best people I found to help with reading retention. And it's just, I think that in our way of living, we are inundated with email, text, calls, ideas, content. We want to absorb content we want to create. There's so much happening that having a place to put all that digitally. I have a commonplace book. That's a whole nother video, but that I put everything that matters to me, but digitally being able to organize all of this so that it comes out of your brain and you have space to continue to think and create and all of that, and you have a way to search all of it and refer back to it. I'm 100% sure I'm not giving you a full overview of this because, again, I have not read this book, but it is on my list to read this quarter, and I really hope that you'll take the time to read it as well. And getting yourself into a place where you read not just for pleasure, but to learn and to grow is a really important place to be. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I will not stop learning. And sometimes that means taking a class. Sometimes that means watching a YouTube video. And very often that means reading a book or an article or a blog. I am constantly consuming information because I'm a business owner. And if I don't keep growing my knowledge base, my understanding of the world around me, the world behind me and in front of me, I'm going to be a worthless business owner. I'm not going to be current. I'm not going to be able to move forward in my business as the years go on. You are going to see books in my bookcase like about Adolf Hitler. I don't want to read about Adolf Hitler, but I'm going to read about Adolf Hitler because it's part of our history, right? I'm going to have a better understanding of that entire situation because it's part of it's not my history, it's our history. And it's important. Reading it's important for us to grow. And listen, I do fiction books, mostly at the suggestion of my father. I don't enjoy fiction as much as I think a lot of people do because I have a problem with the endings. So I have a couple favorites that I hate, that I love. I love hate them. But I think that should be in the mix as well. Fantasy and imagination is an important part of keeping our minds young, keeping our minds fresh as we get older. I will be 45 in April. And so, will I be 46? Nope. I don't know how old I am. I'm in that range. And I want to keep my brain active and young and moving forward. And so you're going to see books on my shelf that don't make any sense to you. But part of what I learned from Rhon, from his book, was the diversity is incredibly important to my growth and my upward movement. So I'm just going to encourage you, if you're not a reader, start slow, start small, but work your way into being somebody who loves to read. My dad and I have a competition every year. He's retired. He wins every year. I think he did 40 books last year. I did 32. I keep getting close, but I'm never close enough. So I'm done racing him. Now I want to read. I want to receive that content. I want to retain that knowledge so I can turn around and tell somebody else, here's what this is about. And there's a couple books that really hit me so strongly that I remember that. Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. When that book was coming to an end, I started reading slower so it wouldn't finish. So I have favorites, but it's just something I think is really important for me. And I think it's also real important for anybody else, whether you're a business owner or a student or a parent or a teenager, it doesn't matter. I think it's an important part of being who you are and creating who you are. So that is it for this video. I hope that you found this helpful. I really hope that you guys will go out and read these books. And I would love to hear from you if you already have or if you do, because I'm going to do this every quarter. I'm going to give you 3 to 4 books every quarter I think you should read. And I really would love this to be a conversation. So if you have any comments or questions, I would love to hear from you. I'd love it if you'd like, share, subscribe, follow, communicate with me. I love comments. I love talking to you. And until next week, have a great time. Have a great week. Enjoy going back to school and work and all those things that are coming back after the holidays have wound down. And until next time, see you later.